This is Andi Purewal for ID Boxing. I'm joined by promoter Eddie Hearn here in Matchroom. Here in Phoenix. Eddie, a successful night, a great night of boxing, ending with one Francisco Estrada coming out victorious in his trilogy bout with Chocolatito. What did you make of that main event?
I thought it was fantastic. I mean, will say after the first 2 rounds, which was, quite a slow start for these guys, I was a little bit worried, but it just got better and better and better. Estrada controlled the early stages of the fight. I thought Chocolatito came back into it. I did have Estrada winning, 115, 113. I was surprised how many people thought Chocolatito might have won it, actually. But a great fight, credit to boxing, and unbelievable atmosphere, and a great night of boxing from top to bottom.
I know we will look at what's next for Estrada, but for Chocolatito now, those signs of potentially slowing down, do you think this is the end of the road for him? Or?
I don't know, it's difficult because I thought he's looked brilliant coming into this fight, and he did box like he just, it was a fight that could have gone either way. So I thought he started really slow. I mean, they're talking about him doing 12, 15 rounds of sparring with 4 or 5 minute rounds with 30-second race. He looked a bit overtrained for me to start the fight, but came into the fight really well. And I thought Estrada was fantastic. I thought he moved very well in this fight, very clever.
Estrada, what next? Is the 4th bout on the cards, or is it unifications?
I think either. I mean, the 4th fight would still be huge, but obviously you've got Ioka, Franco in December. Could be an interesting unification. He does want to unify and try and become undisputed, but the 4th fight will always be the biggest fight out there, and we'll have to speak to both teams.
Martinez versus Carmona, an interesting fight, a much closer fight than many might have thought. What did you make of Julio's performance?
I thought it was very difficult. I mean, Carmona just moved and moved and moved. I think they said he busted his hand, Carmona, in the 5th round. I thought he boxed really well early and finished the fight well in the 12th round, but in the middle, didn't really do a lot. I thought Martinez won by 2 or 3 rounds. Frustrating night for him, not his kind of style. Probably a good fight for him to learn for the Sonny Edwards fight, because he'll probably do the same. But he could move up and fight Estrada. Now, that's a big all-Mexican fight, but we also need to get him unifying. So whether that's Sonny, whether that's Jesse Rodriguez, whether that's Delakian, that's going to be next for Martinez.
What do you make of Mannix and DAZN favouring Sonny Edwards over Julio Cesar Martinez if they were to?
I think on that performance tonight, I think you would have to make Sonny Edwards the favourite in that fight. Sonny Edwards is a very good fighter, but so is Martinez, and he's much better than that. But it was very, I mean, look, Sonny moves a lot, but there was a difference between moving and just, I mean, Carmona was all over the place from the 4th round.
Cristofer Rosales victorious against Knight, great fight there.
Brilliant fight. I actually thought it was a draw, or I actually was probably failed. I tweeted it and everyone just abused me and said, "Shut up, Hearn, you talk absolute shit." But Rosales, yeah, I think he 7-3 was it. I thought it was a bit closer than that, but fair play to him. I thought he'd come back with a big win. Velasquez started the fight well, but big win for Cristofer Rosales.
I said to Diego Pacheco earlier in the week that when he signed with Matchroom, he's the one which I was personally most excited by, and again, he's delivered it tonight.
Yeah, nice to bring you into the interview.
Well, I'm just saying that he was exciting.
I spotted this, I did. But anyway, seriously, we signed him at 17, and he had to fight in Mexico for a little bit till he was 18. Great talent, building him nicely, getting big receptions now, fighting on all these big cards. I think this is a future world champion. He's 16-0 now, he's 21 years of age. I think we're going to box him in the UK in March next. It'd be great for him to experience that. And I think he's a future world champion, probably a multi-division world champion.
4 fights this year, 16 altogether in his career. Is it time now for a quicker pace for his career?
Yeah, probably not, because the fights are going to get tougher. So 4 fights, yeah, probably should have boxed 5 times this year, but there'll be reasons behind that. But I think that 4 or 5 times next year, perfect. And after that, I think he's ready for world titles. Like literally 5 more fights, get to 21-0, 22-0, and he'll be ready. He's still maturing a little bit. He's only 21, but you can see his body changing, and he's punching very hard.
Emma Williams and Mark Castro successful tonight. Your thoughts on both of those performances?
Yeah, good. I mean, I think Castro's very, very exciting. He had a tough opponent in front of him. Ammo, good 10 rounds in the bank against an undefeated fighter. Looks like Felix Cash next for him. Herrera was great, and Beatrice Ferreira, fantastic. I just said to Colm, I think Michaela Mayer should fight Beatrice Ferreira. I think that's a great fight, and if she can beat her, I think we should do the Baumgardner rematch. But she have to come through Beatrice Ferreira. I think's an absolute beast.
Don't say that to Michaela, because she's turned up wanting Alicia Baumgardner tonight.
Yeah, well, she's going to be. Alicia is the king, queen, whatever you want to call it, of the division. And Michaela Mayer's now just a challenger. So she's got to find a way back into the sport, into the into titles. But like I said, we'd definitely give her the opportunity to fight Beatrice Ferreira, and if she could beat her, I'd be keen to make the Alicia Baumgardner rematch.
Over in the UK, you saw Tyson Fury stop Derek-Chisora in the latter rounds of that bout. What did you make of it?
I didn't see all of it. I saw a lot of it. I mean, looked like a fight that should have been stopped 5 or 6 rounds before. Derek will always give it everything. You know, he's a warrior, but he was never going to win the fight at any stage of the fight. So once you get to the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, you've got to really look at it. And, you know, I just said it's like everyone knows you should stop the fight, but still the fight doesn't stop. It's difficult for Don Charles because Derek will never quit, and he might have had a conversation with him to say, pull you out, and Derek would just say, absolutely not, you know. But, you know, when you can't win the fight from a certain stage, there's just no point.
Where does the criticism lie with that? Is it the ref should have stepped in sooner, or Don should have just said, listen, you need to...
I think the ref said to the corner a few times, you know, and Victor Lothran's a brilliant ref, and I think he did a good job, but it's hard because it's a world heavyweight title, but I just feel that in fights where there's no way back, that's particularly when you got to look at it. For
the last 3 or 4 fights, Eddie, people have said that they'd be more than happy to see Derek sail off into the sunset, and especially on the back of the payday he'd have got for that. Don't imagine he'll be struggling for a few quid, and he can go and enjoy his life now. If he was to come to you and say, Eddie, I still want to fight, does the responsibility fall on your shoulders, Frank Warren's shoulders, other promoters as well, to say there's no opportunities there for you now?
It's always my fault, but Frank Warren said 2 years ago, Derek-Chisora needs to retire, should never box again. I mean, someone mentioned Tyson Fury, went, don't be ridiculous, and he ended up putting him in. So it falls on everybody's responsibilities. But at the same time, he did just beat Kubrat Pulev, who is a top 15 heavyweight. So it depends what level you're fighting at. But there's no point, Derek just wants big fights. So you can't step him down and put him in with Dave Allen or, you know, or a domestic heavyweight. No disrespect, Dave Allen's a good fighter, but you know what I'm saying? He won't want that fight. So you're putting him in tough fights for a lot of money, and I don't think he should be in those fights necessarily anymore after a payday like that and after, you know, getting beat like that. So in my opinion, I think it would be a good time for him to step away. But Derek's his own man, and he's a great man, and he will make the decision with his family.
If he was to come to you personally and say, Eddie, I still want to fight, will you take him up on that and look at options, or will you say, I think it's best now that you step away?
Yeah, I don't think he should be in a dangerous fight again. You know, again, talking about the levels of fighting. If you're talking about him fighting a Hrgovic or someone like that, I don't think that's a fight that he should be taking at this stage in his career.
In his post-fight press conference, Fury mentioned Usyk and Joyce. No word on AJ. Surprised at all by that?
No, maybe he will tomorrow. I mean, you never know.
Bob Arum's had a few words to say about you this week, Eddie. What have you made of his comments and him believing you've blown away basically $1 billion?
That's absolute rubbish. But also, I mean, Top Rank, I think Top Rank are finished in America. I mean, I haven't seen anything they've done this year that's impressed me at all. They're hiring out small arenas. Their ESPN numbers are shocking. You know, they're going into like the Virgin Hotel in Las Vegas or Resorts World in Las Vegas, the small arena all the time at MSG. They're going to Turning Stone next for Effie Jagbar against Rivas. I think they've given up. I think they probably realise that ESPN aren't going to be renewing their contract. But I'm not, you know, I don't want to go back and forward. I'm not goading these guys. They're just coming out, you know, with the stick. And it's interesting today, I think it's Boxing Social was the story. And it just came up on my Twitter, liked by Leonard Ellaby. And I just thought, this is fucking hilarious because you're as salty as they come, mate. But yeah, Top Rank, I don't know. Top wank, really.
Gervonta Davis has accused you of continuing to try to push for Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn fight after Conor's positive test. He also accused Ryan Garcia of potentially being on PEDs. What did you make of his...
Gervonta's weird, isn't he? Like, he does these tweets and then he deletes them instantly. So he tweets saying, I'm out of contract with Mayweather Promotions, and then he deletes them. Then he done those ones and deleted them. Wild, really. I mean, he just saw a picture of Ryan Garcia in a T-shirt and went, he's on PEDs. So, I mean, Ryan Garcia came out and said, you haven't requested VADA testing for the fight. I'm happy to have VADA testing. Like, are we the only ones really implementing VADA testing consistently? But of course, with the Conor Benn incident, yeah, he's gonna have a pop. As we said before, it's not up to me. It's up to the commission. They pulled the fight, but none of my business about Gervonta Davis. If he's concerned about Ryan Garcia, put testing in the contract. How testing is not in a contract for that fight, I'm completely baffled.
Jaime Munguia turning down the WBO ordered bout with Janibek. Your thoughts on that?
Jaime Munguia is just what Golden Boy are doing with Jaime Munguia is so embarrassing. Like, you've got a kid here, he can fight, he could be a star. His resume is appalling. He's fighting the worst level of opposition I've ever seen. He's turned down the Demetrius Andrade mandatory, he's turned down the Janibek mandatory. I don't know what they're doing with him.
Lyndon Arthur mentioned that he's potentially in the frame for a Callum Smith fight, is he?
Love to make that fight. Yeah, we've had a couple of conversations with Wasserman. I think that's a really good fight, Liverpool against Manchester. We'll catch up with Nissa and Calla next week and see if Lyndon Arthur would like to make that fight. We'd like to.
Final one, Eddie. Josh Warrington returns next week in Leeds in a very difficult bout, and speaking to the American media this week, they very much fancy Lopez.
They think Lopez is a big favourite in that fight, but he hasn't been to Leeds yet. And Josh Warrington's a great fighter, but it is a really tough fight, as is Ebony Bridges' fight with Shannon O'Connell. And as you heard earlier, I don't know if you spoke to Frank Smith as well, but get ready. If England beat Senegal tomorrow, get ready for the wildest night you've ever had in Leeds, because we are going boxing, football in the arena, back to boxing. I'm wearing the England shirt. It's coming home next Saturday in Leeds. Beat Senegal first, and then it's going wild at the arena in Leeds.
Do you feel like you've had to force that because you didn't want to announce that today?
No, I didn't want to announce it, but Frank Smith's already announced it. We've been planning it all week. I was going to do this big announcement to camera, and it turns out Frank Smith has just done a load of interviews telling everybody. I don't get any views. I know you don't get any views, but you're not going to, so don't stay out of it,
Well, Eddie, safe flight back to the UK, and I'll see you in Leeds next week.
See you in Leeds.